Well, good day, Common Sense Warriors. Thanks for tuning in. Today's guest is Maryanne Lechleiter. I hope I said that right.
You did.
I was practicing earlier. It was kind of fun. Maryanne works with...
Where's the...
My German... My German is not very good, so...
Neither
is
mine. 9.
9?
Nachtisch. That means dessert. That is all I know.
Nachtisch?
My
Nachtisch.
German's pretty good.
Is it?
Did I say that right?
Reiner?
Nachtisch?
That's kind of a German name, right?
Only kind of.
Only kind of.
Kind of a lot of.
Anyways, we've got Maryanne here. Maryanne's from Impact. Is it Impact Digital Marketing?
Impact Marketing International.
Impact Marketing International. So we have somebody who's international, but Maryanne has a very diverse background and comes from a entrepreneurial background into the role that she's in now. So anyways, Maryanne, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us who you are, where you came from, how you got here.
Well, my story is probably a lot different than a lot of the people that would come onto this podcast, because I've been, my journey has been from being an employee to moving into entrepreneurship to now being employed again, which is quite different than most of the people that belong to TRBN or who do entrepreneurship. Most entrepreneurs do not go back into being employed by someone, having a job.
Well, we're kind of unemployable.
Exactly.
And
I
go and
actually
punch a clock and that type of thing. And that's really kind of one of the main reasons why we wanted to have you on, is that you have that journey of entrepreneurship to employee mentality. And, you know, it's not always easy.
No, it is possible though.
It is possible. So if there's people that are looking to get back into the JOB market and you think you're not employable, well, maybe you are.
For sure. Absolutely.
And so you came to currently what you're doing, which is an international marketing company.
Yeah.
So you market for English schools and overseas. Is that right?
Yes, that is a big portion of our business. We also do work with for-profit organizations, so businesses that have an international market as well, whether they're here in Canada and want to go overseas or vice versa.
Okay.
We're breaking more into that market as well. Primarily, we have been focusing on international education, the expats schools. So these are schools that people who move to a different country for work send their kids to. So maybe somebody from the UK is moving to Malaysia. These are the types of schools that they send their kids to. But my story began a long time ago. Galaxy far away. See, I told you I like Star Wars.
There you go.
I started in the newspaper business when I was I think 19, 20. Just out of high school. I got a job at the newspaper and I started just in sales, and it was make or break. You had to figure it out on your own. You had to find your own clients. My pay was based on what I sold. This is actually the first role now that I'm in that I've not had a role where I'm responsible for the sales, and my paycheck is does not rely on me selling. So the majority of my life has been commission based or when I was self-employed, you know how that goes. So I spent 12 years in newspaper business doing a variety of different jobs. And when the markets all crashed in 2008, it was kind of also the same time that digital was emerging. And people stopped buying newspaper. But previously, newspaper was the only way for businesses to really, that or radio were the two options for a local business to advertise themselves, at least in a way that was affordable enough. And I made a lot of money selling ads to people. It was really profitable and it worked for them as well, right? So I could sell it confidently. But come 2008, I couldn't sell it confidently anymore. People were switching. Email marketing was emerging as the front runner, as the most affordable, easy way. We all know it's easier to keep a client than find a new one.
Click send and...
Exactly. And, you know, if you continue to delight the customers you have, they're going to continue to shop with you. And that's a lot more, it's a lot easier to keep them than it is to find new ones. So anyways, I began talking with a lot of the customers that I'd been working with for years, because I'd been in Langley and Surrey and South Surrey for so many years. I knew a lot of business owners, and they were all looking for new ways to market. And I could not really find a job that I wanted to move to from the newspaper business. I actually did have one for 9 months at a custom tent company. I managed the custom printed tents for experiential marketing tours. So I did a tent for like the Ratatouille movie for Disney that came out, and they would go on tours.
Okay.
Anyways, that lasted for about 9 months, and it was a mutual "I quit, you're fired" because it did not go well, and it was it was totally fine. But then I went back to the newspaper business for a couple of years, and then in 2008 I started to look at what was going on, and I think it was 2009 that I left altogether, and I started my own company called Urban Life Media.
So let's just go back to 2009, because people's memories are extremely short.
Yeah.
I was a financial advisor, still financial planner in 2009, and I remember dealing with the market fallout for my clients' money and clients' investments and stuff like that. Everybody thought that the world was going to end, like it was done. Like the banking sector was done. There was no more careers. There was no more jobs. There was no more investment in the economy from any level of any government or any kind of institution. So for you to go and start a business in 2009?
It was really stupid.
However, really stupid and really smart.
You don't know what you don't know. And it also was affecting the retailers, because I used to work with retailers that were selling, a pair of jeans to women for $250.
Yeah.
And that was no big deal. All of a sudden, nobody was buying those. And it shifted their business, and it shifted my business and how I was able to sell. So I just got into my own thing because I could create what they needed at that time. It gave me the ability to provide them what they needed and what they didn't have the expertise to do on their own.
Yeah.
Right.
And also with that, because I spent so much time in all these local shops and stores, I would come across the most amazing products, whether they were made locally or somebody just found them somewhere or what have you. And I wanted to share those with people. So I created a blog called Stimuli, and it was just kind of basically things that I found all around my travels in the Lower Mainland, and told people where they could go buy them. And it drove people to those stores to buy those items, depending on what they were.
How did you create a revenue stream from that, from a blog?
Well, that's the thing, is it's really hard to monetize a blog. And back then, influencer marketing wasn't a thing, right? There wasn't Instagram really yet. It was Facebook and Twitter.
Yeah.
So monetizing a blog back then was challenging. So I did have ad space available on there, and I tried to sell that. But mostly it was kind of off the side of my desk, and the revenue stream came from the marketing work I was doing for other businesses. And then one day, I can't remember what it was, and I wish I could remember exactly what the impetus was to decide to do print. It could have been that there is a magazine in Cloverdale that is not the best magazine. And I was like, I can do that a lot better. So I just looked at it and went, I'm going to try it. And I pulled one out of my hat in about 6 weeks. I sold it, printed it, distributed it out of my garage.
Wow.
And it just kind of went from there. So I think the first print run was about 10,000 copies maybe.
Wow.
And I did print editions for 2.5 years, I think, and got up to 40,000 copies distributed through Canada Post 3 or 4 times a year.
Really? It's all through Canada Post, so snail mail, the regular...
It was...
or was it subscription-based?
No, it wasn't subscription-based. It just landed in people's mailboxes.
Oh, okay.
My husband and I drove through neighborhoods and I said, yep, I want it to go here. And he'd find it on the map and say, okay, it's that postal code. And then I'd say, okay, I want it to go to this neighborhood. And he'd find it on the map and say, okay, it's that postal code. And then we'd go through the postal routes under those codes and say, he was my distribution manager.
I remember seeing it at my mom's building. So she's in a 55-plus building with all mostly seniors. And I remember in the mailroom there was a stack of stimuli.
Well, that's the only way to get it into people's mailboxes is you have to do it that way. You have to send it through direct mail through Canada Post. Otherwise you can't get into any. And because we have so many townhomes and condos here, that's the only way to get into people's homes. I can't just I couldn't just pay somebody to go deliver it like the newspaper, because you can't really get it into people's homes that way.
Oh, yeah.
So all in all, I owned my own business for about, I think it was 7 years. Oh. And I joined TRBN I think in my 5th year of owning my own business, when the Langley City one at the Passionate Home started, because Carrie was one of my clients for Stimuli. And she's like, I'm starting this with my friend Deborah. You need to come. I was like, oh, for another networking group. Okay. So I went, and it's an amazing group. Mm-hmm. And yes, I know we're known as the Criers. It doesn't happen almost every week. But it was just an amazing group. And that's actually where I met Deborah, who is the owner of Impact Marketing. Mm-hmm. And we didn't even really connect that much the first year together. I mean, I heard her story. I knew who she was and what she was doing to some degree. And then I just started to get really unsettled and unsatisfied with self-employment. I had a daughter who we were looking at paying for college for, and that's a big chunk of change, and just was looking for something that was a little more stable and didn't suck me dry every single day. During that period of self-employment too, my husband was sick for a year. I think I started the company, and 6 months in, he ended up with a brain tumor.
Oh.
So that was a year of our life because he had a seizure. He also couldn't drive for a year, and ended up needing to have brain surgery, have it removed and all that. So through that time, you're starting a new business. He got sick. He couldn't drive for a year. So then there's me like basically getting the family everywhere.
Was it cancer or was it just
They thought it was. They diagnosed it as some oligodendrosis something glioma thing. But when it got sent to the lab for testing, they couldn't find any cancer. So it's our little miracle.
Wow.
They were pretty positive. They were even saying, okay, so next week you'll be at the cancer agency and you'll start your journey there. And then they're like, there's no cancer in here. We don't get it. So
I couldn't imagine that.
No, it was not a fun year.
You must have just been...
Yeah. Well, I woke up one night to our bed shaking. I thought it was an earthquake, but he was having a seizure.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
So that's how it was discovered. There was no signs before that.
Like nothing, no...
Just a few headaches, but he's a shift worker. So when you don't get enough sleep, you get headaches, you get tired, that sort of thing. So no, nothing. It was in the middle of the Vancouver Olympics, actually.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it was a pretty big year for us. I was done at the end of that. I was like, I need something different now. Yeah. I feel finished with it.
Well, and that's a common thing that I hear all the time from people that are entrepreneurs.
I wish I had a regular job.
Well, they put everything. They put their blood, sweat, tears, and their soul into this business, and then nobody ever values it as much as you value it.
No,
like
exactly.
It's worth whatever it's worth to you. Somebody's going to take it, and it's worth way less than what it's worth to you.
Exactly.
And that's the biggest challenge, and it's the psychological journey that we as entrepreneurs that we have to go through.
Yeah.
And you think that your business, I think my business is worth this. You think your business is worth whatever it is.
Yeah.
And to try and get people to find value in that and to value it as much as you do.
Exactly.
Which is, again, one of the reasons why you're probably lucky to have the role that you have.
Yeah.
Where you can see the value that she's provided to the business. But I think that you are ideal for that because you have been an entrepreneur.
That's exactly right.
What she's put into that.
I know exactly what she's going through, right?
Yeah.
I know, I know what it takes, and I know the struggles, and I know what it means to be the person responsible for everyone else and all the decisions. So I completely get it. And I think that's why it works because when I was in that time, I was like, I don't want to do my own thing anymore. I'm ready for something different. But what the heck am I going to do? I don't want to commute every day.
Yeah.
I don't want to have I don't want to have to punch a clock because that doesn't work for my life. Because those 7 years, it was great. Our daughter was in high school. My husband was sick. It gave me a lot of flexibility too. Mm-hmm. And I did not want to go back to that where I have to, drive somewhere every day, punch in, punch out, blah, 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 somebody looking over your shoulder. That was not what I wanted. And I just didn't think I was going to find it. So it was a period of time of some pretty high anxiety about what am I going to do? Like, where am I going to go? Who's going to even want me? I don't actually have a degree. Yeah. Everything I have, I've learned on the job.
Yeah.
So, sure, I might have a resume full of experience, but I don't have a degree behind my name, which is unusual, but can be a challenge now if you're competing against others. So, I was just really worried about how that was going to all play out. And then along comes Deborah, and she's in this place where she's struggling. Like, how do I grow my business? She was fried from trying to do all of it herself. Yeah. And because we're international, we also work in multiple time zones, which that's challenging on your personal life as well. Because, today I'm going home and I'll have a call with a client between 6 and 8. So, when you're doing that with multiple clients, your life revolves around their time zones.
Right.
So anyways, she was at that point where she'd grown really quickly. The business had grown quite quickly and she was trying to manage it all on her own. So it was just the right meeting at the right time with the right people. Mm-hmm. And, she was originally looking for an assistant. And I said, I can do that. Like I was just, I liked what the business was. She and I both are travel addicts. So the fact that it involved a world outside of just here really intrigued me. And also it's marketing, which is what I love, sales and marketing. So it just allowed me to step into something that's completely fits me. And we actually have a work culture that we call a ROWE, results only work environment. And what that means is we don't care when you work. We don't care where you work. We only care that you get the work done. So if you want to go live in Italy for 3 months and work from there, go ahead. If I want to go be on a beach in Vietnam for a few weeks, I can do that. So
haven't you done that?
That is so counter corporate culture now.
It is.
Because that's one of the reasons why I was like going mental with my, when I was working in corporate Canada, is they're always like, you spend more time filling in your Salesforce numbers than you did actually doing anything.
Exactly.
And the results, of course, are skewed because you have to put you spending all your days putting stuff into the computer.
Yeah.
That's that's so counter.
It's so, and it's the culture that she was developing and wanted to develop because it's the lifestyle that Deborah wanted for herself. But she also wanted to be able to offer that to other people.
Yeah.
And there's a fine line because I've been an entrepreneur, it also helps me work in that environment. Because you have to have a lot of self-discipline.
Yeah.
You can't just, it's not all fun and games. Like when we tell people about what we do and the fact that there's the international travel and the results only work environment, it is very enticing. But you have to have a lot of self-discipline to be able to work in that environment and actually excel. Like if you're the type of person that wants to have water cooler conversations and have lots of, face-to-face meetings, it might not be the best environment for you.
Although it also has to be a bit of a lot of faith on Deb's part with hiring,
absolutely,
with having the right people, because a lot of people will take advantage of that, and that is a tough.
It is a really tough.
See, that makes so much more sense to me. Is that the results are the results. It doesn't matter if you can get the results that are wanted in 3 hours, then that's great.
Exactly.
Yeah, more power to you.
Exactly. And if I want to come and do this, great.
Either the results are too low, or they can get more out of you over the time.
Well, and that's just it. I've said over the past, because I've been with Deborah for 3 years now. I've said over the past 3 years, if you are a good work at home person, like if it suits your personality and you have that self-discipline, your employer will get a lot more out of you than a regular employee, because I don't have those water cooler conversations. I don't go for lunch with people a lot. Like I eat lunch at my desk after I've walked upstairs to get it, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So,
well, I guess it depends on where your clients are too. Like you're international, so
you're
not. If you're going out for lunch with a friend, that's not going to generate any business for you. Right.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing is I do work those into my schedule. I will go out for lunch with a friend or meet a friend for coffee or whatever, because I do need to get out of my house and I do need to have people, or I can go work in a coffee shop if I want that.
And that's a typical self-employed problem.
It is.
Is because you work alone.
You can get very isolated, right?
Man.
And this is no different.
Yeah, it does get lonely. It really
does.
Yeah.
I mean, our core team is actually local, but we still don't see each other very often. We're seeing each other quite a bit right now because we're in a really heavy planning stage for growth, but we just do it all video. Video calls are how we connect. And you'd be surprised how you can get to know somebody even over video. One of our contractors who used to live in the States, I probably worked with him for 1.5 years before I met him in person in the airport in Bangkok. And I was like, oh, hey, Stephen. And it was like I just knew him because I'd been working with him and, video and all that. So
do you Skype or is it okay?
Well, we Skype. We use a lot of different tools. We have Skype for instant messaging, just because internationally Skype is how a lot of people connect.
Right.
Some of my clients use WhatsApp, depending on how fast they want to get in touch with me. But we use, sometimes we use Google Hangouts. Sometimes we use GoToMeeting for video calling. So
Google Hangouts, I haven't heard anybody using that.
I don't use it for client meetings.
Okay.
Just because I don't always trust it, and some of our clients are in China, so Google can be a challenge. They're usually on VPNs, and it's not usually a challenge, but so we use GoToMeeting.
So that's an interesting point, because we're talking about China quite a bit lately,
Yes.
especially in Canada, because we're public enemy number one over there.
I know,
right now.
and we have two clients, and we have a client in Beijing and a client in Shanghai.
And they're on a VPN, so the government's they probably are trying to monitor them.
Probably, but they're all on,
You know.
all the schools are on VPNs.
Yeah, so like that's got to be a huge challenge for
It is.
dealing with with Canadians being incarcerated over there and stuff like that.
I know. We're trying to decide if we're going to go to China in November. So,
Oh, wow.
Just seeing what that environment is like, and because our client does need an on-site visit, it's time for us to actually see them. So we're kind of testing the waters and seeing what that might look like, as whether or not it's a good idea for us to go. But we both already have visas, so.
Well,
we'll see.
That's one step in the right
But
direction.
it is different. It is a very different environment to work in, because they don't have. First time I was there, I was you can't use Gmail. You don't have Google. Even Starbucks, you can't connect to anything. You don't have Facebook. You don't have Instagram. You don't have Twitter. They have their own social media systems. They have their own search engines, and those are what's monitored and controlled. And for anyone else coming into that country, it's a very different world.
No doubt.
But China surprised me. I liked it a lot more than I thought I would. It's a pretty cool
Everybody
country.
that goes there say it's great.
Yeah.
And they're so much further ahead technologically and infrastructure wise and everything else.
It depends on what part of it you're in.
Yeah.
But yes, there is still, bathrooms with holes in the floor. But then you're next to a high rise that's
like
state of the art.
70-story high buildings and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah.
That's got to be a little bit stressful, but also a little bit kind of interesting at the same time.
It definitely poses challenges, but we like our challenges, and it makes us learn and grow, right? So keeps us from getting bored and stale.
So you have quite a few schools in Asia then, or is that
primarily in Asia? So Thailand, China, Malaysia, Japan, and also we have one in Africa, Tanzania. So Deborah and I were there last year.
Fun.
We have one there. Yeah.
How's that?
It's interesting. Africa is a whole other ball of wax, but it's beautiful, and it's a lot more government relations involved for our schools there, or our school there. So it's just very, very different, but it's an amazing country too. Time zone there stinks though. It's a very hard time zone to manage. Like Asia is easy. It's between 14 and 16 hours different.
So the same time, they would be the same time zone as like Europe then, right?
Pretty close. Like right now and our daylight savings screws it up too. So it goes from 10 hours to 9 hours, I think. I think right now 10 hours to 11 hours. I don't know. I have a lot of clocks on my computer. So it's 9 or 10 hours difference, which is really challenging.
Yeah, I know when I go to Europe, it's like, it takes me a couple days to acclimatize to that. Mm-hmm. I find that easier than even going to Ontario, though. The 3 hours is the
3 hours really screws you out.
It really is a killer.
The Asia time zone is easy. It's pretty easy going there.
Yeah.
Coming home messes me up, but going there is pretty easy. But Africa was. But we went from Asia to Africa and home. Like we literally circled the globe last fall. We left Vancouver, and by the time I came home, I'd flown the entire globe. It was like 11 flights. 65 hours of
Not many
flying.
people can say they've done that.
No, it was really cool. It was because I tacked on a couple of weeks personally, and so by the time I got back.
Did you have your family go with you, or?
My husband and I went for a couple of weeks first, and we were in Indonesia.
Oh, cool.
And then Deborah and I were in, where were we? Malaysia, and then we went to Africa.
So
and then we stopped in London on the way home. So.
London, yeah. Got to stop there.
Yeah.
So as far as Asia is concerned, like, what about security? Do you have to have security around your schools, or is it basically like?
They do have, they have gates.
Yeah.
But they just have regular, like what we'd call security guards that you'd see in the mall kind of thing. They take child safety very, very, like they take it very seriously, but not because there's any worry of like kidnapping or anything. It's no different than they take child safety here.
Okay. Right.
Yeah. So, parents, everybody has a card and swipes in and out. The school in Bangkok is actually within a gated community.
Okay.
So it's pretty cool. They get brought to school in golf carts. It's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting. The moms pull up in these golf carts. I mean, there's cars too, but for inside the community, they just use their golf carts. But yeah, that they take their kids' safety seriously with, scanning in and out, and they check visitors at the gate and so forth. But just because you're dealing with children, so of course you're going to be. Africa is a little bit more safety conscious in terms of government relations and
so you
forth,
have
right?
expats going to Tanzania. What kind of industry are they working in?
They
there?
might be like NGOs, nonprofit organizations that are sending people there, embassy workers. Those would be
no oil, gas, mining development.
Some oil, gas, and mining is pretty big in Malaysia.
Okay.
And that's had a bit of a slump recently too.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Africa, it's a lot of nonprofit organizations and embassy workers, and our school in Africa also takes a lot of local children. So,
really?
Yeah, more so than any of our other schools do. So they there's a lot of business people in Tanzania.
So you guys do the marketing for these schools. You don't actually do the building of the schools.
No, not at all. We work really closely with the marketing and admissions departments.
Okay.
So we help them develop content and ad strategies, and we consult with them on how to structure their teams, and just depending on what they need. Our school in Africa, we actually are mostly like their marketing director. So we organize their admissions and marketing teams. Other schools have marketing and admissions teams built in, and a director of those. So we work with them as consultants, and then we also help create content, ad strategies, SEO. It's a whole
search engine optimization.
But it's more than just those tactics. It's where we come in as consultants, and we truly partner with them to help them reach prospective families around the world, the families that are the right fit.
So you've come from marketing as far as the old-fashioned way, which is print ads, which was the only way we used to be able to do it.
That's right.
Back in the day, and you'd have to have your ad in the paper. The bigger the ad in the paper, you might get one phone call
or yellow pages.
Like that. They also. So and now you've come all the way over to the new world of digital marketing.
Yep.
Where are we going with marketing now? Like, where do you see that going?
Oh, it's just going to go more and more digital. I mean, we have the entire world at our fingertips.
Right.
And yes, there's still something to be said for a well done printed piece. But for the most part, if anybody's researching something now, they're going to Google. And internationally, they're doing it mobile. Whereas in Canada and a lot, even the US still, we're primarily desktop, laptop. Right. Like there's a much less split. Whereas if you go to any Asian country, it's probably at least 80% mobile.
Really?
If not more. Yeah, they don't sit here. They do this. They do their phones. So everything they need is in here. Even in China, their social media app called WeChat is more than a social media app. It's how they pay for things. They can book flights. They can call cabs. They can do everything within this one app. So everything is going to be... It's not going to go back to print. No, is what I'm trying to say.
That leads to a lot of interesting future abilities, and we've all seen science fiction shows. I know we've talked about a couple, but you see walking down the street, you see hologram ads coming at people, specifically
like
targeting
Blade Runner.
you. And you're literally seeing that. And people used to go, "Oh, that's far fetched." I'm looking at it going,
"No, it's not.
That is not even remotely far fetched. That is probably." At the here where we're starting to see that now.
Yeah.
Well, we can do that already. I mean, not the hologram.
Well, but your hologram is actually close. I'm a techie and I look at this. Hologram is kind of
it's getting there.
It's the fact that they can read your phone, or they can check and see.
We do that with our schools. It's called geotargeting or geofencing. Yeah. So we can say, we want people who have been near this school, and this school to be served up these ads.
That's actually real. Like, we talk about all these crazy wingnut guys that are like, the government's tracking you, and you used to have tinfoil hats.
Yeah.
And like, the government's tracking you, and like, well, now they literally are tracking you, like, especially in China. Like,
everybody's tracking. You're being tracked everywhere.
Their laptops or their cameras.
As soon as you're on Facebook, you're being tracked.
Mine has an off button for the camera on my laptop, which is interesting. ASUS came up with that.
My kids all put up. My kids all put like little things over top of the webcams.
They do. Yeah.
I'm like,
people used to laugh at
they can
you for
hack into that,
and I'm like, you know what? No, don't laugh at that because that's a very real.
It's a very real thing.
Yeah.
I just don't
Smart
live in
TVs.
that. I don't live in that fear.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just.
No.
I guess that's your career. That's
It's my career, and
so
it's
you're using
also
those tools to benefit
yeah.
your business and other people's businesses. And
That's
I
right.
see where there's a lot of value, but I can also see where that can be abused.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's what's kind of.
And that's why privacy policies and Facebook's constantly upgrading what you can and can't do with it. But they're spying on you just as much as Google is, let me tell you, if not more. So
yeah. Well, I know that. Like it's like if you.
they know everything that they need to know about you.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's what they do with it that's important. And
exactly.
Well, they
That's what
monetize
we
it.
can.
they-
Yeah.
of course.
And that's what you guys. I guess that's what.
That's
you guys
what we do.
But when Facebook monetizes, everybody goes freaky, and I'm thinking to myself, but you're not paying. For
I know, right? Exactly.
do you want to pay $10 a month?
Exactly,
You
Ryan.
don't want to do that either. Well,
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Like, what do
Like,
you?
who runs a business for free just so you can have an awesome,
apparently,
tool at your
our
fingertips?
Our government does that.
Well, you don't count.
I might do that way too often.
Yeah, for a good purpose though.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, why
That's-
wouldn't they monetize it?
That's my point. Is like, oh, they're going to steal it. Well, so
Then-
like you're getting to use this awesome tool because for business, Facebook is still an awesome tool. You get
Yeah.
to market for free. Quit whining
Mm-hmm.
because
Well, and
it's still
Facebook
for free.
advertising is dirt cheap too, compared to like
even
print,
that.
still print.
Oh,
media is-
compared to print, it's definitely dirt cheap. But it's
Yeah.
it's getting more and more expensive depending on the audience you want to target and the country you want to target. Obviously, if you want
the
to target
business that you're
Malaysia,
in.
it's a lot cheaper than if you want to target
Right.
the United States.
Yeah.
Because most of our schools will target their host country and the United States.
Right.
Okay.
Well, it also depends on the business that you're in for
Mm-hmm.
how expensive the ads are. If it's one of the businesses that spends a lot of money on ads,
Yeah.
well, guess what? They're
Yeah.
gonna take advantage of that because
Right, because you're competing against everybody else for your
No, I
cost
guess
per
that's
click.
true. Yeah.
realtors, mortgage brokers, I'm imagining they pay a fair amount
Education.
for education. Yeah, I imagine that's
Yeah.
a fairly hefty
Yeah,
sum that they'll pay for a lead, for a solid lead.
exactly. Absolutely.
That's
Yeah.
very.
Financial planning, I imagine, would pay a fair price for a solid lead.
I-
You know,
I've got a few. I've done a little bit of Facebook, Facebook advertising, and it hasn't been very expensive.
No, it's
far.
not. And I mean,
But
you can
and
control
I
your
also
budget.
haven't really generated much
Right.
from it, but it's just
You can spend a
advertising
lot.
is-
Yeah.
You could. I can see
can.
how you could be.
Oh yeah, because I
completely-
mean, think of how many people you can target.
Yeah,
But that's
you
the whole
target it
point: is
down
you
to
need
who
to
you
get your
want,
audience
yeah.
exactly who you want it to be.
And so geo,
Right.
You call it geo.
That's different.
Okay.
Facebook uses audience targeting and
Yeah.
pixels and a whole lot of other
and they've got a lot
things.
of demographic information.
And they have, well, they're
every
mining every
individual.
single
Yeah.
profile on there to know what the demographic information is.
Yeah.
But geofencing is a different.
And that's using Google, or is that just using?
It
Google
uses
Maps or
the different display networks. So what it does is it targets people who have been in a certain geographical area. So
Yeah.
for instance, I want people who have come into your office to see this ad, and then it will serve them up ads on different websites or game apps or what
so that's
have you.
how when you're on Google
Yeah.
and you're on your phone, or
And you'll
whatever.
see a little display ad come
Yeah.
up, or if you're in an app and you see an ad come up and you have to close it, it's that.
That's crazy. Mm-hmm. That's nuts.
There's still some glitches in a lot of the ad methods. I notice on Facebook a lot that let's say you're on Google researching an item and then you've bought that item. And then for the next month, it's like every day,
Yep.
why is that item coming up? I bought it. Please
Yes.
stop it. And and it goes on and on and on. And you're like, okay, I get it.
Well, you really want buyer's remorse because then you see the better deal. It's like, oh, crap.
Yeah, because they just know that you looked at that
I know,
that page.
yeah,
They don't know
it's-
that you bought it.
It's still got a few minor little glitches where they haven't worked out the perfect system.
No.
But
I'm-
it's interesting to watch.
So
It
where?
is.
So that being said, where the heck are we going then? Like, what are like digital marketing? Where like?
A lot of artificial intelligence is what's coming next. So chatbots will be getting bigger and bigger. Video is still huge. If you're not doing video, you need to be doing video. You're going to see a shift in, I think, from just being Facebook driven. You're going to, as generations grow up, you're going to see a shift from, depending on your target audience. But right now, most of our parents for our schools are still using Facebook. But pretty darn soon, millennials and Gen Zs are going to be the ones with the kids going to the schools. So you're going to need to consider where they're getting their information.
Yeah.
And it's most likely going to be, Instagram and then Snapchat.
Which again is still Facebook.
It's still Facebook, but it's still a different platform. And it's a different, you have to use it differently with the way you create your ads.
It's kind of the way Facebook used to be, as I remember Facebook. A lot of the Instagram, or maybe more at the beginning, I haven't really used it lately, but at the beginning of Instagram, it seemed more like earlier Facebook type stuff.
Yeah, Instagram it's evolved so much over the last few years too, with their algorithms, and influencer marketing is huge, right? So I think influencer marketing is going to stay. Definitely artificial intelligence, whether it's chatbots or other things. Google's constantly updating their algorithms, so there's always things to change and evolve because of that. I mean, last month? No, wait, what month are we in? June. I think in the middle of April, they did quite a large algorithm update on Google, and they're not usually very forthcoming with what that actually means. But what we've discovered is they've now put a much heavier weight on site structure and schema markup. So there's a lot of technical things in terms of your search engine optimization. If Google changes something, so we're constantly going to be working with that, and Google's constantly improving its intelligence around intent of a search. So more and more people are searching an actual question, and it's improving itself continually on how it serves up the results for the answers to those questions.
It's opening up so many different cans of worms that with what they're allowing as content on these websites, and what they're allowing as advertising on these websites, and what they're taking off, and what they're, there's all these different. We were listening to that yesterday, where they're the artificial intelligence. If you're talking, like, we could have a conversation about white supremacists. As soon as I say that, boom, YouTube could take
they're
our
monitoring
thing offline.
Yeah.
Even if
I just uttered the words white supremacist.
Yeah.
We're not even having that as a conversation, but
right. It's just there.
It's just there
because it's running through their filters that aren't.
And then that's impacting. And then we had the.
Oh wait, do I have to edit that out now?
Oh, maybe you could edit out the sneeze.
I've got a frog in my throat today for some reason.
Yeah, so it's content is where it's going to. The more content that you produce, it used to be that a blog of 400 to 600 words was great.
Yeah.
Now Google wants to see 1,500 words in a blog, because it wants to be able to read the relevance more than just keywords. So
and even Twitter ups their
key character count, and even Google Ads is increasing what you can use in terms of character count, how many headlines they're allowing, how many descriptions they're allowing. But content is the key, because people are doing their research on their phones. Buyers are smart, because they go, and the more that you can offer them up front, the more it qualifies them as a client before they even start bugging you on the phone. So content and artificial intelligence, and just keeping up with Google's algorithms and social media changes. They're constantly changing their platforms.
To be fair, content has always been king.
It has.
It just hasn't been paid attention to as much as now.
That's right.
And at the beginning, people were always talking about spending all this money on getting their websites and stuff. And I would keep telling them, just content, regular content, keep content updated, and
keep it fresh.
Google will like it.
Even updating your about page now and then too, right?
Really?
Minor stuff.
Oh yeah. Because
I can't keep up with this stuff. Like
updating the content on your about page and your contact page every few months, it gives Google something fresh to read, so it'll re-index it.
So when you go on your Google business pages and stuff, I'm going to ask for free advice here.
Your Google business listing, you mean?
Yeah, your Google business listing. So I go in there and it says, add pictures. So added some pictures to my Google business listing, and then it actually shows you the people that people have looked at it.
Yeah.
And you haven't even
changed your picture.
Change your picture, change your description, update it. You don't even have to say anything different necessarily. Just rewrite the same thing a different way.
Change the sentence structure around a bit, and it'll be different.
Wow. And that's what you guys do. Then
that's part of that's one little part of an entire scope of work, right? Google Business Listing also allows you to add posts now. That come for 7 days. So if you write a blog, you can post it to your Google Business Listing. It makes a big difference because it's fresh content being added. Your listing is being used, and that makes a big difference.
And then videos again.
Video
that's
is
that's why we're
huge.
doing what we're doing on video,
Yeah.
because we could
This
record
isn't for
ourselves.
money.
No, trust me. These cameras, these faces were not made for video, but it is what it is. So you guys got to deal with it. It's the internet. I don't know.
Yeah.
So
You could turn the video off and just listen.
You could.
you could.
Different
and I think that's
tab.
what most people do.
Yeah, they probably do. There are some people that actually just laugh at us because we're on video, so that's fine.
That's okay.
Yeah, we're here to entertain, so whatever
Right.
it takes.
Right.
I just think it's so amazing what's going on right now, and I think it's really, really cool. And I'm very, very scared for a lot of things that are happening right now in the world, and what the online entities are allowing, and what they're doing, and what they're shaping people's thoughts, and they're shaping people's perspectives.
But don't you think that's always been the case with media?
It has, but it's even
just
more
that
prevalent now.
it's because
scary.
it's accessible.
Yeah.
And people have input ability. Back in, I'm clearly older than both of you guys by a lot. Back
Clearly.
in when I was young,
Dinosaurs.
TV was just kind of getting a foothold. It wasn't like TV was in every household back when I was young, and if you had a color TV, wow, you were the popular kid on the block. Trust me
Right.
on that one.
Yeah.
But even back then, there was a lot of fear on the TV, and rightfully so, because again, now you were having TV was basically an advertising form for some companies. They would have like detergent companies would sponsor a series,
show.
a
Yeah.
show, and would have their commercials constantly read, and so they were kind of in charge. They were in control, and then eventually you had censors come in, and then things would be decided. So the same problem that was happening then with censors coming in and changing what we can do, what we can get away with. Well, we're seeing that now. It's a little bit more sophisticated,
it's
but
very
it's still,
Orwellian. Like
it is, but it's still the same thing. It's just in a different.
It's just a different.
well, you
just
think about
different.
1984, and the government would talk to you through the TV.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, now they're talking to us.
But that's actually real.
But it's real.
With
It's
smart
like
TVs.
They're listening to us through our phones.
so many things.
Like they're
Yeah.
guaranteed they have the ability to listen to
absolutely.
us on that.
Yeah.
Right.
And I've heard of people like, oh, you talk about something you've never searched on Google. You'll talk about horseback riding. And then all of a sudden on Facebook ad, there's a horseback riding ad. You're like, what? How did that? And I've heard, and I've actually seen it myself, where it's like, I've never even searched that ever in my life on Google. So how did they hear that? I don't know.
Well,
It's just,
welcome to the 21st century.
yeah.
Isn't it? If you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to worry about, right? Isn't that bullshit still believed by people?
I guess, but
I guess.
I have nothing to hide, but it's just like
Neither do I, but I
just
still
don't
do
like-
not believe in having it quite that intrusive. I still believe that we are entitled to privacy, and people fought and died so that we have those rights.
Yeah.
And having people having that attitude of, if you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear. Well, that's just giving more and more permission to lose rights that I believe citizens have those rights. We should have those rights. I mean, these countries are for the people. They're not for the entities that are controlling them. So that's just my old man opinion, I guess.
No, that's I'm not as old as you, but I still think that, and it's just crazy. And kind of went off on a tangent there.
Yeah.
But I think marketing is the start of it, and obviously got to monetize all of these awesome technology that we have out there. So everything gets monetized at some point.
At some point.
Back in the old print days, you monetized the advertisement space on there. So you'd have the articles, and you'd have the ad space.
That's how your community newspaper was paid for. It was paid for by the ads because you weren't paying for it.
And so now
You still aren't.
Well, exactly. Yeah, like nobody's buying newspapers now, and if you go to buy the Province, I think it's like $3 or something. I saw.
It's not cheap. I don't know. Well, I mean, because people subscribe to the app.
You go to a coffee shop, and I'll grab a newspaper, and I'll read the newspaper, and some people look at you like a third head. Like
I don't think I've touched the newspaper in a decade.
Yeah, I wrapped some dishes in some.
Yeah, where you collect them from your friends because you need some.
I went to the recycle bin in our townhouse complex and grabbed them.
And that's all
that's
good
the thing.
stuff.
Even when I go to my favorite fish place, it's wrapped in fake newspaper. It's not even real anymore.
Well, and the thing, that's true.
Yeah, that's nuts.
But I mean, newspapers are evolving. You just go to their apps and get the information. You just get it online. It's not like the news isn't available, or you see it in your social media feeds. Or
and let's face it, it's not a bad thing to eliminate the need for paper.
No.
No, I think
there's
that's
nothing
great.
wrong. We have technology. Why do we need to have paper? Technology is everywhere. Even my mom's 91. She has a laptop. She's
Right.
a Skype. She's on Skype twice
Well, and
a week
people get
with
their
group Skype with her
Right.
sisters all over Europe. Like,
Yeah.
this isn't just this is
Yeah, she's
technical
connecting.
stuff,
Yeah.
right? So even for her, it's newspapers. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think people get their news predominantly more on Facebook
Yeah.
and that's where you can follow
Social media, Twitter.
media is the way to go get your news now.
Well, we were having that conversation yesterday. We were talking about newspapers. Well, they pick and choose what to feed you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Always have.
Yeah.
So I still have to decide whether this is real, whether this is relevant. I still have to decide that. So why don't I just eliminate the middleman, the newspapers, and go right to online or social media, and then have to decide which.
You still have to develop your own opinions.
You still have to decide. So I'm just going to eliminate the paper part of it, and I'm going to.
I think that's adding more to the divisiveness that we're seeing in our society now too. And I know you do have to go, so we'll have to wrap it up soon.
Oh, that's okay.
I do see all of this. The newspaper, and I watched The Post. I don't know if you've seen that. That's a new movie with Tom Hanks, and
Oh, yeah.
it's from this right before Watergate
Yep.
came down, and it was the lead up to Watergate,
Yep.
and how the politicians influenced the newspapers back in the 60s, and there was like the elite class was part of the newspapers, and then the politicians, and they would tell the newspapers what they wanted them to report. And sometimes the newspapers would get articles or information on politicians that are not flattering to them, and they would have to debate whether or not they were going to post that. And it was all these things, and then it would be these decisions would take weeks and weeks and weeks on the back in the 60s and early 70s to get that done. And now it's like
Done.
and instantaneous, and they're not even really checking facts and that type of thing now. So there's just that different. What are we looking at? What are we getting online? Well, those types of things. It's just like
and our attention spans are so short now that the news bite has to be quick and salacious or
and they even tell you
clickbait.
on Facebook how long the read is now. Like if it's 12-minute article to read, you're not going to read it.
No.
We do have short selective memories. Even really nasty things that happen. Give it a week.
Yeah.
It'll go away. It's just going to disappear, and something else will take its place.
People
and we move on.
2008, 2009. People don't really remember that now. That was 10 years ago.
Which is crazy to me still.
But it was it was complete.
Yeah.
Everybody was going crazy. Like the markets were toast. Everybody was like, sell everything and go and buy gold and bury it in their backyard.
Yeah.
So if we go into a couple of backyards, I'm sure you might find some.
You might find a few bricks here or there.
You might. Who knows? Anyway, it's really cool to see somebody who's gone through print and then into digital marketing.
Yeah.
And marketing's still the same.
Marketing itself hasn't really changed.
No,
it's
just
the tactics
the new
and
tools to get
the
things going.
tools.
And that's exactly
And the
right. It's the
accessibility.
tools.
Yeah.
The intention has always been the same, always will be the same. It's about getting as many people as possible, or the right people that you can to see the thing that you are trying to get them to see. And that's
right.
literally what it is. And that's never going to change. But our tools, let's be honest, it's so cool. I mean, we've talked about some negative parts of these tools, but come on.
For the most part, they're pretty damn
so
awesome.
Cool. I mean,
And that's why I don't live in that conspiracy theory fear, because I just see the potential behind most of it. And there is people that will use it for negative, or organizations or conglomerates that are going to use it for negative. But for the most part, it's very positive.
Yeah.
And it connects people, and it makes our lives better and sometimes more challenging.
Well, and you were saying using video, you can work with somebody you've never actually physically met, and then you meet up with them at the airport, and it's like, hey, what's going on? I haven't seen you.
I haven't seen you. Oh, wait, I've never actually seen you.
I've never actually met you physically, but that's crazy.
Or you walk by somebody, it's like, I know him.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's like, he's a Facebook friend.
Yeah.
And then you go up to them, and they're looking at you like,
wait, how do I know? Yeah.
Deer in headlights. And then it's
so
like,
it's definitely connected our globe in a way for everyone. It's not just for the elite anymore. The world is small for everyone.
Yeah. And I think the things that are happening that are so crazy right now with shifting or with our digital social media and that kind of stuff, changing opinions and a lot of fake stuff on there, that's going to calm down, because people are going to get more and more used to the fact that this stuff is getting sent to them, and people are going to become more sophisticated in deciphering what's real and what's fake.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, fake news is a big thing, and it's been overdone. And people are now getting smart enough to actually see, come on, that's fake, and let's not even go there.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to start happening. Our young people are going to come in now with a whole lot more.
But I think the bad guys are going to get more and more sophisticated.
Oh, and they always
too.
will. But so will the people that are generally using it. They'll become a little bit more skeptical, which is good, because they need to. They need to be able to take that extra couple of seconds just to maybe verify some facts, as opposed to just taking everything at face value. And that, I think, is that little component that's been missing in everything.
Critical thinking.
Is
critical thinking.
And that is the one thing that I've been noticing from common sense.
Common
sense, exactly.
Which is why we have
it. But
and it's the old way of marketing too. Like, we're marketing our podcast, our Common Sense Thing video on YouTube using Google.
Yeah. Well, it's just opened up. I mean, I think of, when Kevin and I were on this tiny island in Indonesia last year, we're staying in this resort-ish thing, and it's a resort for them.
There was a roof over your head.
There was.
Yeah.
But as we're driving down the driveway to this, I look into this property, and it's this guy that's maybe 20, 21, and he's living in a hut that's, a slanted roof and two sides. He's got a fire out front. He's got his little moped motorcycle, but I'm telling you, he's also got a cell phone. Mm-hmm. So it has opened up a world of marketing potential to people that you would never have connected to before. I mean, I'm on a moped in Bali using Google Maps to find my way to the next waterfall. Yeah. So it's just like no joke.
And that's a huge thing, is because we're seeing more and more people with technology. That's more and more people that are going to be going from the lower class to the middle class.
It's just opened up the world.
There's going to be hundreds of millions of people going into a higher standard of living, which is awesome for our planet.
Yeah.
And I think that's the solution to a lot of the things, is to get as many people out of poverty, where they're just burning crap and burning coal and burning to be...
Now, that's the good side of things. However, you're looking at larger and larger companies that are influencing this, and they would rather have the little guy not have the opportunities to market for free and to get into business and I think that is a big struggle on social media platforms. Is bigger companies would rather continue their unfair advantage, and the unfair advantage is simply that they have a lot more money than the little guy. And social media has kind of taken that away, and now you're starting to see it become a little bit more expensive on social media, and people are starting to monetize it a little bit differently, a little bit more.
But the thing about social media too is, I'll use the Passionate Home as a great example. Mm-hmm. They have most of their marketing is organic on Facebook and Instagram. Yep. They do these little live videos all the time. Yep. They are not paying for those. I mean, once in a while, she'll boost a post here and there or run an ad, but they are an excellent example of a local business who has used social media, the free part of social media, to connect with their audience. So you could never have used, where would you have gotten free advertising before? Never, nowhere, right? You didn't get free anything. Yeah. So, yes, it's getting more expensive, and yes, Facebook is clamping down on how much it will show to people, even if they are your followers, unless you pay. But once you get to a certain point, like they have, they've built that organically. So it does offer. Yeah. It opens up more avenues for any business, regardless of your budget.
We're kind of a good experiment here, actually, with our podcast, because we are currently only on YouTube, which is, again, because that's where our target market is. We're trying to help local businesses get known by the masses, and the masses are not necessarily on podcast platforms as much. But it's a great way for us to determine viewership. So we're not in the thousands per video yet, but the people that are that share the video with their friends more than the people that don't, they get way more views, and then our views become international, and you start seeing traction that way. So it's not just our end sharing it; it's the guest on here sharing it with their friends, because again, it's your story. Yeah, and that's great for your customers as well to go, you know what? If I really want to get to know a little bit more about Maryanne, maybe this 3/4 of an hour podcast is a great way to do it, because it's a conversation, right? And that's so it's for me, it's an interesting looking at the analytics of our videos.
Yeah.
I do look at them and go, geez, okay, I posted
know, it's
that
kind of
one
fun,
at that
hey?
time, and it's just kind of like, well, this is interesting. Maybe I'm going to try a different day at a different time,
Yep.
and just see what happens. Where I
Yep,
have like this
for
little
sure.
boost, and then I go, okay, like our dentist that we had on
Yeah.
with Leanna with the JVR
Yeah.
Dental, she shared it with her friends in South Africa,
Yeah.
or with her family, and she's got the highest views. And
Right.
funny enough, she got a new patient from South Africa who was not connected with her. She didn't know her, but found the podcast, listened to it, and then said to her that we're moving to Langley and we're looking for a dentist and we want you to be our dentist, which is just
Isn't that awesome?
hilarious.
Yeah, no.
I love that.
That's what. Oh, sorry, I just kicked you.
That's fine.
That's
I get kicked a
what
lot.
social media has done, right?
Yeah,
It's
awesome.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
No, I think, and a good lesson for everything is that, everything's going to be evolving. There's always those nasty people that are out there. There's always people trying to take advantage of other people. But
yep. Why not evolve with it?
Exactly.
Don't be a
You're not going to
dinosaur.
change it. So
I'm a
embrace it.
dinosaur and
Use
I've
it for
evolved.
good.
yell from your deck and start yelling and screaming.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to stop.
Nope.
I'm just about 60, and I've embraced. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm a computer techie.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
been doing this, but I embraced Twitter when it first came out.
Yep.
Facebook. I was a little slower with Facebook because Twitter was still really, really powerful back. in the
It
day.
was.
Twitter's nasty.
And Twitter's still interesting.
It's interesting.
It is, and it's had
Some of the best ways to reach support staff at a
guess.
company is through
Yeah.
Twitter.
Right.
I've had my best results with Fido and other places on Twitter.
At Fido, you suck.
You'd be
They have
surprised.
solved my problems
There
very
you go.
quickly.
Yeah,
Perfect.
absolutely. But
Well-
even in a disaster or something like that,
Yes.
Twitter
Yeah.
has played some really, really key roles
Well,
in
and
a
then you
lot
have
of things around the world.
Yeah.
So-
Checking in safe and that type of
Checking
thing.
in
Yeah.
safe, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Facebook
So,
did that. We are over time.
wait, this is our first one that's gone over an hour.
Oh, crap.
Congratulations.
Perhaps you should edit it down. There might not be that many people that want to listen to me for an hour.
Google and Facebook will probably chop out about
Yeah.
a good half an hour of this.
We mentioned that
without us even knowing it.
Right.
That
Be like-
phrase that they're gonna.
Yes.
They might just wipe out this whole video.
The leader is good. The leader is great. On that note, thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having
We'll have
me.
to have you on again because we can go down
Well, I
a
have
whole
a
bunch of
plan.
rabbit holes.
I have a plan. We're
Oh.
gonna have Deb on next, and then
Yeah.
we're gonna have you both on.
Oh, that would be
think that would be
fun.
a blast.
Oh, yeah.
I think that would
She
be
and I tag
really-
team so
Oh,
well
I-
together.
I
Can we
know
talk
that,
like
'cause
conspiracy theories and stuff like
Oh,
that?
we can talk with. Oh,
That'd be fun.
Deb will be a great.
All right,
both of you
let's do
together
it.
will be a blast.
It would be a lot
Conspiracy
of fun.
theories,
Absolutely.
online marketing,
Something to look forward
5G, Huawei, China. Yes.
to. I like it.
All right, guys.
And with that, we're out.
Some
right,
common sense out
thanks.
there.